Hey guys. So, finally done. Alright. It is 12:40 a.m. my time. And that's 12:40 a.m. right now as I'm starting to record. I was so tempted, to be completely honest, to just be like, oh, I know I promised a video, but no. I promised a video. But I don't think it's going to be a gameplay video. Please, please, please don't hate me. It definitely is tomorrow because, like I said, this thing is done. Like, it's done. All I have to do tomorrow is submit it after my group members look at it, if they even do, which honestly at this point I seriously doubt. Just because... Alright, I didn't even get done doing everything that needed to be done until 11 something. 11... It was probably like 11:30. And then I had to get everything put away, send everybody everything they needed to be sent, and shower, wash my hair, do all the stuff that I needed to do because I've been working on this thing for forever because I can't rely on my group mates. Now, I'm going to vent for like a minute. Maybe like two. Closer to a minute. I've got it down to like a top points PowerPoint because I've been bitching about it all day. So basically I have this group. There's 4 other girls in the group. One of them really, really trying. And that I can appreciate. And she did save me a chunk of time today, which would have otherwise been spent doing her entire part, but because she actually did it, even though... I'm sorry, I'm really sorry, I have something in my eye. Even though I still had to, edit it, because she doesn't really get the formatting that we're supposed to have, or, like, grammar all the time, or whatever. As far as actual content, she saved me a lot of work, and so I'm thankful to her for that. The other 3 members essentially do nothing. Like, one of them's just helpless, and she just doesn't want to ask for help. Like, she doesn't want to know how to do it properly. She'd rather say, I tried, but I don't know how to do it, and stick in, like, another word here and there in the section that she's supposed to redo from the last project, and be like, I don't know how to do it, can you do it instead? And send it to me. One of them just didn't send me anything. Just didn't do anything, like, at all for this last big project for the semester. And then one of them actually kind of sent me backwards or sent me a backwards thing because she didn't even bother to take out her section that I had edited for the last project out of the edited section to do anything to it. She literally sent me the messed up, terrible section that she sent me for the last part of our project that I had to do major reconstruction on. So essentially, I had one person who actually sent me content and then 3 people who did nothing. So I've had to do the majority of this project. This is where it comes in. This is what I wanted to talk about, because this has become a topic of hot debate among some of my friends. Because, like I said, I've been bitching about it all day. That included bitching about it online with some of my friends. And while some of them were very sympathetic, one of them actually said that her worst fear for years has been ever being put in a group project for this exact reason. And then 2 of them responded completely differently. Well, a few of them, but 2 of them in particular. Here's the thing, is for this class, we are supposed to let the professor know who contributed to each project. The first thing we had to do was make up these contracts that had, like, the system of warnings that you get if you're not contributing, and then, ultimately leading up to getting kicked out of the group, which I guess is telling the professor, hey, they didn't do anything. But I can't bring myself to actually do that. And I could say, oh, it's because of the contract we wrote up, but in all honesty, I didn't remember that until about an hour ago. That technically no one has been given a warning yet, and that's the first thing, so technically I have to warn them before I can do anything, and then I have to give them, it was like verbal warning, written warning, like, like, we didn't know what to write. But, so the main reason I can't is because one of the girls, and this is one of the girls that's doing nothing. But she's been talking all semester about how she's just barely passing this class, and it's the last class she needs to graduate, and blah, blah, blah. And I can't, as much as she may deserve it, I feel like I can't be the one that essentially decides whether or not she graduates this semester. Like, I feel like that's not my place, and essentially it wouldn't be. I wouldn't be saying, hey, you can't graduate this semester. Technically, I would just be saying, hey, professor, she didn't do anything, like, at all for this last part of this project. But essentially, that is what I would be doing. I would be deciding that she doesn't graduate this semester, and I feel like that's a big deal. And it's not like she would get kicked out. She would just be put back, like a semester or even a year but this class is offered next semester, so like a semester. But I still can't do it. And here's where the other two friends came in. Is one of them right away, because the second one was kind about it most of the way through. The first one just ripped into me, like, really just that I shouldn't feel guilty about telling on somebody for not pulling their weight. I should feel guilty for enabling them to cheat and for being a coward and not having the guts to stand up for myself and this and that, and that I was completely doing the wrong thing and I was making it okay for people to cheat, and that was how she had gotten as far as she had. And I'm not saying that any of that is wrong, but I'm also not saying necessarily that it's right. I feel like it's just a situation. I feel like it doesn't, I personally feel like it doesn't make me wrong. I just feel like all of that stuff would make it justified if I did say something, if that makes sense. But then the other friend was much kinder about it, but she essentially said the same things, that by not, standing up and saying, that what she was doing is wrong, that I have to understand that, that I'm enabling her to do these things, and that I'm essentially saying that it's okay for anybody who cheats in college to cheat, which I completely disagree with. And not cheat. Well, I disagree with cheating too, but I disagree with that statement. But it was also said in there that I was acting selfish by doing so. I was acting selfish towards the other students that were contributing. Here's the thing about that, is that whether or not that is true, depending on your point of view, personally, I feel as though if I'm acting selfish towards anyone, because I have been doing, especially with this last part, I want to say I essentially did realistically 80 to 90% of the work. When I was bitching earlier, at one point 95% came up. Realistically 80 to 90% of the work for this project, counting what I also did for the first part of this project, which was the last thing that we submitted. So me not saying anything is not hurting any of the other students in any of the other groups who may or may not have their own issues, whatever. And the one other girl in my group that's actually putting forth effort, I don't want to say that the 10 or 20% of the effort or of the work that she's done, I don't want to say that I feel like if she were to feel that strongly about it, if she were to feel like it wasn't right, because we all have access to everybody's messages, we all have access to every file that we share, whatever, so she can see things as clearly as I do. And if it doesn't bother her, I feel like the only person it essentially takes away from, or, in terms of time or whatever, is me. And so I feel like if I don't want to say anything, that's my decision. Does that make sense? And I don't know, maybe that sounds stupid, but a few years ago, when I'm pre-med now, I was an architecture major, and one of my close friends now, I met her through a group project in a class, and we were paired with originally 3 other people, and then one of them dropped the class, and we didn't see him for like 3 or 4 weeks, and he just decided that he was going to drop it before he actually dropped it, so even the teacher didn't know he wasn't in the class anymore. We just thought he was sick, and nobody could get a hold of him. He just, like, didn't ever do anything, so he was just gone. And then the other 2, one of them was essentially like the girl that's in my group now, that she would really, really try where she could, but it just wasn't, it wasn't a lot when it came to our final project. But luckily, she would take Adderall regularly for, like, it was prescribed. But for her, it was, I don't remember whether it was ADD or ADHD, but she would take it, and then she had this knack for our research paper. She had this knack for doing research where she was so thorough and was so good at research. She actually found a few things that our professor, who'd been in the field for 20 plus years, didn't know. So we were kind of okay with her not helping for, like, the actual project, because she was essentially doing 90% of our paper, and she was making it amazing, and she enjoyed doing it. So that was fine. But there was this one group member who did nothing. Who did less than nothing. Because he would lie and say that he was doing things, and then he wouldn't do them, so that would put us behind. And anyways, my whole point of this thing, this is how long has this been? 12 minutes. The whole thing that this has been leading up to is my philosophy on it, which I learned from my architecture professor at the time. Because when my friend in the group and we actually did decide that we needed to go and talk to her. Because we ended up getting the project done. We ended up doing a really good job on it. But it was very stressful, and there was a point where we weren't actually sure that we were going to be able to get it done, because for the actual project part, it was essentially just the 2 of us doing 5 people's work. And we had, all of our other projects for other classes to do as well. And so we went to talk to the professor, and, we're trying to figure out how to tell her. We were sort of hem-hawing for the first 30 seconds or so, and then she asked, "Is this about so-and-so?" I'm not going to say his name. And we were like, "Well, yes." And she goes, this is about him, like, he's not pulling his weight." And we were like, "Yes." And she was like, she's like, "First of all, rest assured that, like most professors usually do, I am well aware of what is going on in my class, even when you're not in the classroom." She's like, "I can tell by the way you interact." She's like, "I can tell by this, all of that she's like, I know who's doing work and who's just slacking off. I know who's doing what. I know who's doing well and who's struggling. Like, I know." But she said, "I'm going to tell you essentially what I would tell you if you were doing a job right now in your field as an architect. It has to get done regardless. The project is due when it's due. You have the specifications, and it still has to get done. Sometimes it's not fair. And sometimes it's going to happen that way in the field. You're going to get people on your team that aren't going to do anything, and you still have to get the job done. And sometimes it may seem like it's not fair, and sometimes you may feel like your boss doesn't know, or your contractor or whoever doesn't know. But she's like, I promise you, they're always paying attention, and eventually it will catch up to you. You will get exactly what you earned, whether it's getting a promotion or getting fired, and you will also get exactly the grade that you're going to earn. And she said, trust me, I have a way, or I don't think it was she said I do, but she said these things have a way of resolving themselves. Just trust me and get the project done. And we said, okay, because, I mean, what else could you say? And then we left, and sure enough, we got the project done. I ended up chewing him out over the phone the night before the project was due, because he had essentially put me backwards from where I needed to be again. But the next morning we went in, we turned in our project, and we sat down to the final exam, and when we turned over the last page, what nobody had been told about beforehand was that there was a review where you had to review each member of your group based on their performance and what they had contributed. And I'm not saying that there's going to be anything like that in this class, because she set stuff in place already. We're supposed to tell her, and because it's an online class, and I don't know how that would work, but it's because of that's kind of my philosophy, that even though it won't necessarily catch up with her in school, because this is her last semester, supposedly, assuming that she still actually passes the class, I have to believe that it will catch up with her later in life. And I don't like to... It's not about... it was suggested today that I was trying to avoid drama with these girls, and that's really not what it is, because I don't even know them. Like, it's an online class. I've never seen them before. I think 2 or 3 of them live out of state. I know for sure one of them lives in Texas. I'm never going to see them. I don't care. But I don't like putting myself in a position where I'm in someone else's way or causing them harm, even if they kind of put themselves there. Do you know? Like, sometimes I feel, sometimes I have to, if it's a detriment to someone else, that person is being a detriment to someone else, or there's different situations, but I don't like being that person. And I don't feel comfortable being that person. And if it's something that, nobody's being hurt but me, I'm the one that's having to put all this extra effort in, and I would feel more comfortable with myself not standing up for myself than I would actually saying something, then for my own sake, I feel like the better decision is to not say anything. And so the main reason that I'm saying all this is because, and then the main reason that I wanted to talk about this in this video, that's now, holy crap, 18 minutes long, so as long as last night's video anyway, is because for any of you that do watch this, I'm interested to know what you think. If you feel like commenting on it or responding to this video in any way. But also just kind of to put out there, just kind of to put my views on it out into the universe, or the universe of the internet, in case you feel one way or the other and you maybe want a chance to look at both sides of it, or if you're in my position one day and you're feeling bad about not, I mean, I don't think this is the kind of thing that people look for advice. They search on YouTube, should I tell on this person for not contributing to the group project? But you get my point. Like, it's out there now. Like, people will, oh my goodness. Sorry. People, it's out there. This is out there now. Well, it's not right now, but now that you're watching it, it is. So, but I am interested if you are watching it. I always, well, it's easy to say now, I don't have that many comments, but I always check my comments. And I, because I'm interested in hearing people's opinions on this, even if they're a little harsher directed at me than I wish they were, but I do understand the other side of things, the other viewpoint of it. And then the one last thing I wanted to say is that after I responded by, I essentially said, okay, well, I'm selfish and a coward, but that's just something we're going to have to accept because I can't do it. I don't have it in me to do it. My one friend actually did respond back and said that if I didn't, then it just is what it is, and it's on me, and it's my decision, obviously, ultimately, but that maybe in the long run it's better anyway, because she had tried to appeal to my sense of wanting to not be mean and wanting to, not kind of ruin this girl's, I guess not her life, but her, her plan or schedule or whatever, by saying that it would actually be doing her a kindness to show her that she can't get by without doing any work, and that she should actually do the work and learn. But then when she responded, by saying kind of it, it is what it is, she also said that maybe in a way this was going to help her learn the hard way, because at the end of it all, I was the one that would end up with, and this is her words, this is not mine, but she said that ultimately I would end up with, wow, my hair is, I'm sorry, I just washed it, it's drying, and I'm kind of trying not to look at it, but it's everywhere. But, that I would be the one that, as a result of having to do the majority of the work, that I would end up with the better work ethic in the end, a better understanding of the knowledge, and in a competitive environment, like pre-med, that I would actually be getting far much benefit from the, or far more benefit. English, it's already one, I'm exhausted. But I would be getting far more benefit from the experience, from the class, than these other girls would, and so in the long run, I'm better off. And obviously that's not why I did it, but I mean, pre-med is very competitive, so but anyways, yes, so that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about today. Gameplay video tomorrow, because now that this group project's out of the way, I don't have nearly as much that needs to get done. Finals are coming up, so yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know your opinions on it, or any experiences that you've had that maybe were similar or maybe a little bit different. Yeah, glad we got to have this talk. You're awesome. Good night. I love you all. And so does Sophia, who's being weird. And I will see you tomorrow.